So in this video, we're going to be creating our very first LangChainGo application. I've already created a new folder for that with the name LangChain-Go, as you can see here on the file menu. And that's basically what you need to start. Just create a new folder. There's no scaffolding or stuff, just create a new folder. And we're going to be setting up this folder just like a typical Golang application. So I'm going to pull up my command line here in VS Code. And inside this folder, we're going to run go mod init LangChainGo app. So we're going to use this to initialize our LangChainGo application. So I'm just going to hit enter. And yeah, this is now initialized as a Golang application. Let's clear this. Now the next step is to install the LangChainGo package. And to do that, we're going to run go get, and the name of the package is github.com/tmc/LangChainGo. Yeah, make sure that this is spelled correctly. github.com/tmc/LangChainGo. Now it's enter, and that should pull in our dependencies, which is cool. So we're just going to clear this. And now, as you can see, we now have the go mod and the go.sum files here in our root folder. And I think for now we can just click out of our command line and deal with the folder itself. And inside this folder, we're going to create a new file. I'm going to call that file main.go. Main.go. This is going to be the entry point for our application. And the way we're going to be using this file throughout this course is that it's going to be the file that is going to be running our examples. We're going to be creating our examples in different files. Then we're going to be bringing them in as functions into this file, and we're going to run them. But we're going to see that very soon. Let us do the typical scaffolding. So we say package main. I'm going to create my main function. And now we're good to go, creating our first LangChainGo application. Now, this application, what it's simply going to do is that it's going to pass a prompt to a language model from OpenAI, and we're going to see a response generated. Simple as that. We're going to pass a prompt to OpenAI, one of the OpenAI models, and it is going to generate a response for us. Simple and straightforward. Now, to do that, I'm going to import some dependencies. And the first one is going to be context. Because we're going to be making remote calls, we need the context package to create a background context. I'm also going to bring in FMT to print our outputs. I also want to log errors in case we have any of those. And most importantly, we need to bring in two modules from LangChainGo. The first is going to be github.com/tmc/LangChainGo, and that package is going to be the LLMs package. The LLMs package. This is the main package for working with and interacting with LLMs in LangChainGo. This is the main package for working with LLMs in LangChainGo. Now, the next package we're going to bring in is our OpenAI wrapper, the chat model for OpenAI. We're going to bring in our OpenAI wrapper, and this is the package that we're going to use to interact with OpenAI. So for that, I'm going to say github.com/tmc/LangChainGo / now this can also be found in the LLMs package, and it's called OpenAI. So github.com/tmc/LangChainGo / LLMs, just like this first one, then OpenAI. Now we're getting some errors here, even for standard packages. So I'm just going to pull up my command line and run go mod tidy. Go mod tidy, and we're still getting the squiggly lines. Okay, yeah, not used. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. We're going to use them later. I have auto save and auto import enabled on VS Code. So if I hit save right now, all these packages are going to disappear because I'm not using them because of the Golang extension. So, but if you don't have that turned on, you can just import them and use them, but make sure that you don't have any unused packages imported. But let's go ahead. And also, it's auto import or will also import any package I just used. So going forward in other examples, when I use some packages without importing them, I'm going to always indicate that they've been imported in the import statement at the top of the file. Let's go back to the fun stuff. Let us first create an instance of our LLM. That's going to be openai.new. Yeah, openai.new. And what this does is that it would return an instance of our LLM and also an error object that we can check for errors. So we can simply say if we have an error that is not equal to nil, then we can simply log our error. So that's good. We have that in. The next thing we're going to do, so we have our LLM now that we can use to make calls to our OpenAI models. The next thing we're going to do is generate a response through a prompt. So I'm going to create a prompt. And for this prompt, I will simply say, what is the capital of France? What's the capital of France? Yeah, seems like we're going to be working with France and Paris a lot in this course. Yeah, so next let us generate a response. Let's generate a response. I'm going to create a new variable called completion and error, and that will be set to LLMs using the LLMs package. I'm going to call the generate from single prompt method. Generate from single prompt. So what this method does is that it generates response from a single prompt. It doesn't do a conversational interaction. It just takes a single prompt and it generates response for that single prompt. So we take this, and the first thing we give it is a background context. So we say context.background, context.background. And the next thing we're going to pass to this is our LLM, the LLM that is going to be performing the operation. And finally, we pass in our prompt. So you pass in your context, you pass in your LLM, and you pass in your prompt. Let's give it a trailing comma here. And it will return an error object or completion. So we have that in place. Then finally, let us first make sure that we're checking for errors. If error is not equal to nil, let's make sure that we are logging the error. And finally, we can simply print out our response, which is just this completion. So we'll just print this out. We save. Now let us run this. I'm going to pull up my command line. Now, because we're interacting with the OpenAI API, we need to have the OpenAI API key in our environment. Very, very important. We need to have it in our environment because it can then be picked up by our OpenAI instance and used in our call. Now, to have your OpenAI key in your environment, you can use different systems. But for this course, we're going to use the simple strategy of just having it in our current session by saying export OpenAI API underscore key. This is the environment variable that the OpenAI API key requires. This is the standard name of the environment variable that is required to have the OpenAI API key. And we're going to set this environment variable equal to our OpenAI API key. So I'm just going to grab my key and paste it here. That's the key that we generated from our dashboard, and hit enter. Hit enter. Then now I can clear screen. If we say echo, and let us try and print out our key, we see our key is now in this current session. Now I'm still getting some squiggly lines here, but let us run this and see what we get. So I'm just going to pull up the command line and say go run main.go. So we see the Golang error, and it's acting like we didn't install our packages, but we did. We did install these packages. Let's try and run go mod tidy once again. So go mod tidy. Okay, so that clears those errors up. And now let us run our file again. Go run main.go. Now it's going to hang for some few seconds because we're making a remote call to an API. And as you can see, we get the response and it tells us the capital of France is Paris. The capital of France is Paris. And now you have been able to build your very first LangChainGo application.